Imagine stepping off a private jet in Brunei. You walk into this, like, 7,000 square foot luxury suite at the Empire Hotel.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's a grand piano in the corner, a private swimming pool, a literal movie theater.
Yeah.
It's just total insulated luxury.
Right.
Now take that image and contrast it with a 14-year-old girl walking into a sprawling mansion here in the United States. She thinks she's there for, a legitimate modeling opportunity.
Right, a career break.
Exactly. Only to suddenly realize the doors have literally locked behind her. Today, we're doing a deep dive into a really dizzying viral video from a YouTube channel called Peeper.
Yeah, that video is everywhere right now.
It really is. And it attempts to connect those two drastically different realities. It maps out this sprawling ecosystem, tracing a whole web of names, timelines, and allegations to show how this predatory machine allegedly operated in plain sight for decades.
And right at the top, we need to do a quick reality check for you listening. The claims we're mapping out today, they involve massive, highly polarizing figures on both the left and the right wings of American politics.
Yeah, the biggest names.
Exactly. We are talking about the spheres surrounding Donald Trump and Bill Clinton. So let's be crystal clear. We aren't here to play politics.
Not at all.
We aren't endorsing any theories, and we are certainly not validating every internet rumor. Our mission today is strictly to act as your guides.
Just laying it all out.
Right. We're unpacking the timeline, the ideas, and the allegations exactly as they are presented in this specific video. We just want to help you understand the core of a controversy that has, honestly, suddenly reignited.
And the inciting incident for all this renewed scrutiny is actually pretty recent, right?
It is, yeah.
The video highlights this sudden, highly public denial from Melania Trump regarding Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell.
Which kind of came out of nowhere.
Totally out of nowhere. She released a statement trying to completely sever any perceived ties, and she was very specific with her timeline. She stated she never had a relationship with Epstein or Maxwell.
Well, she framed that one known email, the one she sent to Maxwell, as just a polite reply.
Right, just casual correspondence.
Exactly. And she also made a very deliberate point to separate her husband's timeline from her own, which is interesting.
How so?
Her statement insisted that Epstein did not introduce her to Donald Trump. She claimed she met Donald by chance at a New York City party, I think in 1998.
Yeah, 1998.
Right. And she said she didn't even cross paths with Epstein until the year 2000.
Which is fascinating because the video cites her biographer. And the biographer suggests this statement wasn't just about distancing herself from the whole Epstein fallout.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the biographer theorizes this was actually a calculated move to distance herself from her husband. I mean, she didn't mention Donald Trump defending himself in this statement at all. In fact, she even called for Congress to thoroughly investigate these illicit networks.
Wow.
And the video notes that move reportedly caught the White House completely off guard.
I bet. Which, brings a really fascinating dynamic to the surface. When a high-profile figure releases a defensive statement like that, it doesn't usually quiet the storm.
No, it usually acts as a beacon.
Exactly. It's a flare. And in this case, the video claims Melania's statement seemingly activated someone from her past, a Brazilian model named Amanda Unaro.
Right. If you're following this on social media, Unaro is a name you might have seen floating around in a very murky, confusing context lately.
Very murky.
She started making these incredibly bold claims online, just teasing hidden connections on X, formerly Twitter, and stating simply, "I know everything."
That's a bold statement.
It is. And the video details Unaro's claim that when she was just 17 years old, she boarded Jeffrey Epstein's private jet in Paris, bound for New York.
A 17-year-old.
Yeah. And she says she wasn't alone. She claims she was with her agent, Jean-Luc Brunel, and 30 other young girls. Plus, she alleges a 20-year friendship with Melania Trump.
Now, Jean-Luc Brunel is a critical name to understand here.
Yeah, who exactly was he?
He wasn't just some minor player. He was a highly influential French modeling scout who was heavily entangled in Epstein's orbit.
Gotcha.
He essentially held the keys to major markets like Paris and New York, which meant he had the power to completely make or break a young girl's career.
Right. Though I do want to push back on the online frenzy here for a second.
Sure.
Because for you listening, it is crucial to recognize that a random social media account saying, "I know everything," is like the definition of dubious internet fodder.
Absolutely.
People can post whatever they want.
Yeah.
And so far, there's no solid, verified evidence presented in the video to back up Unaro's specific claims about her alleged 20-year friendship with Melania.
No, not at all.
It really just sits in this gray area between rumor and reality right now.
Critical thinking is so essential when dealing with these social media allegations, and you're totally right to point out the lack of concrete proof for those specific tweets.
Right.
However, the video uses Unaro's background to point to a very real, heavily documented system. Unaro refers to herself as a product of Epstein and Brunel's machine.
The machine.
Yes. And that machine was the high-fashion modeling industry of the 1990s and early 2000s.
Let's actually talk about how that machine operated, because the video describes it as an ecosystem explicitly designed to trap young women.
It really was.
Think about the mechanics of high fashion modeling for a teenager back then. It wasn't just walking runways. To me, it functioned almost like a shadow visa
A
program,
shadow visa program. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
like a gilded trapdoor.
Because the mechanism of control is what makes it so incredibly insidious. If you're a 15 or 16-year-old girl from Brazil or Eastern Europe, you don't have money. You probably don't speak the language well, and your legal right to stay in the United States, like your visa, is entirely controlled by your modeling agency.
Exactly.
And the agency also pays for your apartment and your flights, meaning you are instantly deeply in debt to them the second you land.
Exactly, the mechanism. So if the man who holds your visa and your debt tells you to, I don't know, attend a VIP party or go to a specific dinner with powerful investors,
You can't say no.
right, your leverage to say no is effectively zero. You have literally nowhere to run.
Right.
And that brings us to a figure the video highlights heavily, mostly through claims amplified by an online commentator named Brian Krassenstein.
Right, the name Paula Zampoli comes up.
Yes, Paolo Zampoli.
And the video describes Zampoli as a highly connected modeling agent. And importantly, the man who reportedly brought Melania to the United States in the first place.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, his ties to the Trump orbit are extensive. They go all the way back to the 90s, intersecting in both real estate and modeling circles. And the video notes that Zampoli actually sits in the current Trump administration.
Wait, really? He's in the administration?
According to the source material, yes.
And the allegations the video highlights regarding Zampoli are just genuinely disturbing. Krassenstein claims Zampoli began pursuing Amanda Unaro when she was just 15 years old.
15.
Yeah, and she's now the mother of his child. But the claim outlines an incredibly dark escalation.
What happened?
Well, it's alleged that during a custody battle, Zampoli essentially weaponized the system against her. He allegedly had Unaro wrongfully locked in an ICE detention facility for nearly 4 months before she was finally deported back to Brazil.
I mean, that is a terrifying allegation, using federal immigration infrastructure to silence and remove a vulnerable person.
Exactly.
The video also details a completely separate claim that Zampoli assaulted a woman at a United Nations diplomatic residence in October of 2023.
So we have these horrifying, sprawling allegations from people online, but the video doesn't just rely on tweets and social media claims, right?
No, it doesn't.
It actually shifts its focus to the physical paper trail, the documented history connecting the Trump orbit to Epstein. And that's where the whole veneer of like legitimate high society networking starts to completely strip away.
Because the contradictions are just glaring. Let's look back at Melania's recent defensive statement where she claimed her email to Ghislaine Maxwell was just a casual, polite reply.
Right. Just a quick note.
Well, the video actually presents the actual 2002 email.
Oh, they show the email.
Yeah, and it reads, quote, "Dear G, nice story about Jay in New York Mag. You look great on the picture. Give me a call when you're back in New York. Love, Melania."
Wow.
Yeah. The phrasing there, using initials like G and J, signing off with Love, Melania, it certainly paints a picture of a much closer, warmer relationship than the distant correspondence she's trying to project today.
And the context of that email is vital. She mentions a story about Jay in New York Magazine.
Right.
That 2002 New York Magazine story is the exact same article where Donald Trump is documented on the record talking about Jeffrey Epstein.
It's the infamous quote. Trump is quoted saying, "I've known Jeff for 15 years. Terrific guy. He's a lot of fun to be with."
Right.
And then he adds the detail that Epstein likes beautiful women as much as he does, and that many of them are, quote, on the younger side.
It's so unsettling to hear that read back. The video pairs that documented, on the record, quote, with a specific harrowing allegation from a woman named Stacey Williams.
Okay, Stacey Williams.
Yeah, and to understand her claim, you really have to understand the gatekeepers we talked about. Williams says she was introduced to Epstein in the 1990s by a modeling executive named Faith Cates.
Ah.
Cates was another one of those figures who basically held the keys to the industry.
Right, and Williams alleges she was actually dating Epstein at the time. She claims that one day Epstein intentionally walked her into Trump Tower, where she was allegedly assaulted by Donald Trump.
While Epstein was there.
Yeah, she claims Epstein simply stood there and watched. She states her belief that the two men had completely set the entire encounter up in advance. It's a claim of premeditated predation.
That is just, I mean, if you're listening to this right now and feeling completely overwhelmed by the darkness of these allegations, I need you to brace yourself.
Yeah.
Because the video presents a piece of physical evidence next that is so strange, it honestly feels like surreal fiction.
It really does.
The birthday note. The video details a typewritten birthday letter sent to Epstein, allegedly bearing Donald Trump's signature.
And a visual description of this document provided in the video is incredibly jarring.
Paint the picture for us.
Okay, so the typewritten text is framed inside a hand-drawn outline of a naked woman.
A naked woman.
Yes, and the signature, a squiggly reading Donald, is placed deliberately below the woman's waist, mimicking pubic hair.
It's just bizarre. And the text itself is bizarre, too. It's written as this imaginary third-person conversation between Trump and Epstein.
Right.
The video quotes it. It says, "Donald, there must be more to life than having everything. Jeffrey, yes, there is. But I won't tell you what it is."
It's like a bad play.
Right. And it continues, "Donald, we have certain things in common, Jeffrey. Jeffrey, yes, we do." And then it ends with a birthday wish saying, May every day be another wonderful secret.
Wow.
I mean, it is a massive tonal shift from the dry legal documents we usually see in these cases.
It is entirely surreal. Now, in the interest of impartiality and strict adherence to our source material, we absolutely must outline Donald Trump's defense as it is presented in the video.
Right. Fair enough.
Trump has strongly denied all of these allegations. He categorically denies the Stacey Williams claim. He denies the authenticity of that birthday letter completely. And he has a long history of taking legal action over such reports.
The video also points out that Trump has actually never been formally accused of wrongdoing in the Epstein criminal case itself.
That's an important distinction.
Yeah. And according to statements from his camp, Trump claims he eventually cut ties entirely, even banning Epstein from Mar-a-Lago for allegedly trying to recruit people on the property.
But when you look at the sheer volume of these allegations swirling around the orbit, it becomes clear why Melania Trump's demand for a congressional investigation backfired so spectacularly.
Right, because she framed her statement as seeking justice.
She did. But the video notes that 15 actual survivors of Epstein's network publicly replied to her statement. They were furious. They called her demand a, quote, deflection of responsibility.
To truly understand that anger, the video grounds us in the reality of what these survivors actually experienced. It strips away the names of billionaires and politicians and focuses on this one anecdote of a 14-year-old girl.
Yeah, that part was heavy.
It really was.
Yeah.
She describes growing up in trailer parks and then suddenly finding herself transported into this massive, overwhelming mansion. She's being led upstairs by an older girl who seems cool and popular.
Which is so disorienting for a kid.
Exactly. She's intimidated. She doesn't want to seem uncool. She doesn't want to make anyone mad. And she trusts the environment because of the sheer wealth surrounding her.
Right.
And then, suddenly, the trap springs. She is told to undress for a massage.
That anecdote perfectly illustrates the psychological manipulation at the heart of the network. The wealth and the proximity to power were just used to disorient and intimidate young victims.
Totally.
But here's the thing. To maintain an operation of this magnitude operating across international borders for 20 years, you cannot just rely on one political party.
No, it's impossible.
A machine like this requires total bipartisan insulation. You need universal immunity. And that is where the video pivots to the other side of the political aisle.
Yes, it brings us to the Clinton connection. The source material makes it abundantly clear that Epstein wasn't just hovering around the Trump orbit. He was deeply financially embedded in the Clinton political machine as well.
Deeply embedded. The paper trail outlines a long-term strategy of financial infiltration. The video notes a donation starting all the way back in 1992.
Wow, 92.
Yeah, $2,000 from Epstein to Bill Clinton's presidential campaign. And look, that might not sound like a lot of money in today's political landscape.
Right, a drop in the bucket now.
But it shows the relationship was being groomed early. By 1993, Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell attended a White House restoration event hosted by Hillary Clinton, and they donated $10,000.
And it escalated from there.
It did. By 1999, Epstein donated $20,000 to Hillary Clinton's Senate campaign.
But the most staggering detail the video explores isn't even campaign donations. It's the 2002 Asia trip.
The Asia trip.
Yeah. After Bill Clinton left the White House, the Clinton Foundation utilized Epstein's massive private plane for this extensive international trip. They covered Russia, Singapore, China, Bangkok, and Brunei.
And Sky News Data Forensics actually verified the photographs from this specific trip. They meticulously track the timeline, the flight logs, and the geographical locations.
Right.
And one location heavily highlighted in the video is the Empress Suite at the Empire Hotel in Brunei.
Which is the suite I mentioned at the very beginning of our deep dive. That 7,000 square foot luxury compound with a grand piano and a private pool. And right alongside this unimaginable luxury is a photograph officially released by the Department of Justice.
A verified photo.
Yes. The image shows Bill Clinton standing on Epstein's plane with his arm wrapped around a young girl. And the girl's face has been deliberately redacted by authorities to protect her identity.
It's a chilling image. Now, much like the defenses we saw earlier with Trump, Bill Clinton has consistently stated he had absolutely no knowledge of Epstein's predatory crimes at the time of these trips.
Right.
He claims he completely cut ties in the mid-2000s. Furthermore, Hillary Clinton recently testified that she does not recall ever encountering Epstein.
Despite the photographic evidence of them at the 1993 White House event.
Exactly. Despite the photos, she claims she doesn't recall it.
I want you to really think about this for a second if you're listening. The video is presenting a scenario where one man successfully maintained deep, intimate proximity to the two most powerful political families in America simultaneously. He flew former presidents around the world. He socialized in elite towers. How does someone do that for over a decade without anyone in either camp supposedly noticing his glaringly predatory behavior?
I mean, he weaponized legitimacy. That is the fundamental mechanism the video exposes here. If you fly a former president around the world on philanthropic missions, or if you fund historical restoration projects for a first lady,
Right, looks good on paper.
Exactly. You are not just buying access, you are buying a shield. You are wrapping your illicit operations in a cloak of untouchable prestige.
People look the other way when the money is good and the causes seem noble.
That level of weaponized legitimacy and the sheer number of immensely powerful people shielded by it is precisely why the end of this story feels so entirely unresolved.
Which is why the video spends its final chapter examining the enduring mystery surrounding Jeffrey Epstein's death.
Because the official narrative is well known, right?
Yeah, right. Following his 2019 arrest on federal sex trafficking charges, Epstein was found dead in his Manhattan prison cell. Chief Medical Examiner Barbara Sampson officially ruled the death a suicide by hanging.
But the video dives into the heavy, persistent pushback against that official ruling, and it's coming specifically from Jeffrey Epstein's own brother, Mark Epstein.
Mark Epstein.
Yeah, and Mark is pointing to some massive logistical anomalies.
What kind of anomalies?
Well, Mark claims that the initial findings inside the autopsy room were far less definitive than the final report suggests. He states that two pathologists who initially observed the autopsy felt the injuries to the neck looked more consistent with a homicide than a suicide.
Homicide.
Yeah. He also points out that the initial death certificate did not say suicide. It explicitly said the cause of death was, quote, pending further study.
Wow. And then there are the discrepancies regarding the prison surveillance video, because that's where the logistics get incredibly confusing.
Extremely confusing.
Then Attorney General Bill Barr publicly stated that he personally reviewed the surveillance footage. And he claimed the video definitively proved no one went in or out of Epstein's tier. Therefore, Barr concluded, it absolutely had to be a suicide.
But Mark Epstein argues that when the video was finally made available, it directly contradicted Barr's absolute certainty.
Oh.
Mark points out that the camera angle provided doesn't actually show the door to Epstein's specific cell. It only shows the main door to the tier.
Wait, really?
Yes, meaning someone could theoretically access the cell off camera. Mark also highlights an unexplained orange blur moving on the staircase in the footage.
An orange blur? That's weird.
Right. And most importantly, he notes that there were 12 other prisoners already locked inside that same tier who wouldn't even need to pass through that main door to reach Epstein.
With all the conspiracy theories swirling around and the documented massive security failures at that facility, the video does anchor us to one very definitive fact.
Which is?
Mark Epstein went in and formally identified his brother's body. Jeffrey Epstein is definitively dead.
Right.
The exact mechanics of how he died might remain hotly debated, but the reality of who was on that table is confirmed.
The man is dead, but the machinery he built remains. And that is the really unsettling truth the video leaves us with.
Yeah.
The network, the enablers, the high-profile contacts, the gatekeepers, that entire structure is still a massive open wound.
So let's pull all this together for you. We started with a single defensive statement from Melania Trump about a casual email.
Right.
And unpacking that statement revealed a sprawling web of allegations. We mapped out claims of a gilded trapdoor in the modeling industry, horrifying allegations of icy detentions involving Pels and Tolley.
The bizarre hand-drawn birthday notes.
Yes, and 7,000 square foot luxury suites in Brunei shared with Bill Clinton.
And while much of the newer social media conjecture from figures like Amanda Unauer remains completely unproven, the undeniable reality presented in this source material is the sheer scale of Epstein's documented access.
It's undeniable.
He built an exploitative machine that seamlessly intersected with the absolutely highest levels of American power, culture, and politics, and it was completely insulated by bipartisan wealth.
It is just a staggering reality to process.
It truly is. Which leaves us with a final thought for you to mull over.
Okay.
If an entirely corrupt ecosystem, meticulously designed to exploit vulnerable teenagers, could operate out in the open for decades, perfectly disguised as the legitimate, glamorous modeling industry and funded by political elites,
Yeah.
what other legitimate-looking industries might be serving as front doors for exploitation right now, hidden in plain sight?
Wow, because there's one thing this deep dive proves, is that when you look closely at the mechanics behind the glamour, the whole illusion unravels. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.